which is a panel discussion on the topic Insights to Action, Agentic AI Shaping Improved Business Outcomes. And to chair the panel, may I invite on stage Mr. Krishnan, Iyer, SVP and Chief Growth Officer, LTIMindtree on stage. Previously, he was part of executive leadership team at Cognizant, leading global delivery for banking, financial and insurance services. He has helped clients transform their customer experience, reduce risk and optimize cost by outsourcing, redesigning business processes, leveraging platforms, automation and leveraging AI. Joining him, may I now request the panelists to please come on stage. Mr. Deepak Visweswaraiah, VP Platform Engineering and Site MD Pega. He's a leader in technology industry and has extensive experience in establishing global in-house centers for multinational companies. Previously, he has worked with i2 Technologies, Adobe, and many others. He was recognized as one of top 50 business growth leaders at BizTalk World Conference and have won Outstanding Leadership Award at Internet 2.0 Conference, among many other titles to his credit. I would also like to invite Ms. Sapna Grover, Partner Director, Microsoft. With over 28 years of expertise, Sapna began as a scientist at DRDO before transitioning to a startup in the US. She went on to become one of the founding members of Pega Systems India operations. Sapna prefers to spend her spare time at T-Hub mentoring and engaging startups. And our last panelist for this session is Mr. Banerjjee, MD and CEO, Sirrus.ai, President, Rezolve.ai. He has been at the forefront of launching groundbreaking tech ventures such as Tata Neu, Tata Digital, Tata Click, and Accenture Digital. He also played an instrumental role in building Reliance Jio's tech platform in collaboration with SAP. Before joining Ziki and Sirrus.ai, he was global CEO of Rezolve.ai, guiding the company to NASDAQ listing as the youngest Gen AI company. Can we please have Mr. Sauvik Banerjjee with us? Oh, great. All right. Sure. So all over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Can you hear me? Great. So, it's been a great session. So, Phil, thanks for a very good session on Agentic AI and where we are headed. And I would like to pull up the Mentimeter results. If the Mentimeter survey is done, can we have the results? In fact, I love the term that Phil introduced, FOBO. And I think, and that I think is the most important term after FOMO now. It's all going to be FOBO, especially in the Agentic AI world. Now, simply put, so while we have this, and this was a different question, but anyway, it's okay. Looks like we had a different question, but it's okay. This is good. Now, simply put, Agentic AI refers to the systems that act and work autonomously, make decisions with minimal human interactions. Now, unlike traditional AI, which follows predefined rules and patterns, Agentic AI continuously learns and thinks ahead. So it acts, decides, and takes initiatives without waiting for explicit instructions. So it's like regular AI is like a well-behaved intern, whereas Agentic AI can be your manager, right? Don't be surprised if Agentic AI becomes manager and takes decisions, and you would end up reporting to an Agentic manager very soon. Now here are some big numbers, right? The global AI market is predicted to be around $1.85 trillion by 2030. 75% of the enterprises have said that they will use Agentic AI operations by 2027. But here's a twist, and here's a fun fact, that Agentic AI is not new. It's been around for years. Think about Google search, think about Google email. And this is, you already find that there is an AI that thinks for you. AI that suggests how you should be responding to your emails. It is already listening to everything that you say. It is also proposing answers for you. So it is already here. And with that, I actually turn to my panel for their insights into how Agentic AI has shaped industries without many realizing it actually. So over to you, Sapna.
Thanks, Krish, for setting the context. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sapna Grover, and I am Data and AI Leader at Microsoft. Great to be here and listening to all the previous speakers so far. In majority of the sessions, you'd say, keep your phone aside, and then let's focus. But I'm going to ask you to do something different. Take your phone out and use any bot of your choice. And then ask the first question. Someone once said that software is going to eat the world. So I want you to check who said and when. And of course, some of you would know the answer already, but this is just to make sure that people are engaged. It's Mark Anderson who said this in 2011. And it is true, like if you see the automation from 2009 to 2019, majority of the companies who were software first are leading in their domain, be it Airbnb, be it the likes of Uber. Then the second question, again, go back to the bot of your choice. Someone recently said that AI is going to eat away software. AI is eating software. And again, some of you would know already. If not, it was Jensen Huang from the NVIDIA CEO who made this statement some time back. And we are seeing this shift already. And then the third statement that I want you to check, which was referenced by Phil as well in his previous talk. Someone recently said that SaaS, Agentic AI is going to change the way we know SaaS today. And it was Satya who made this statement a month before, and it was kind of reflecting in Phil's talk as well. All this is just reflecting the transformative potential of the technology that we are talking about. But as Krish rightly said, this is nothing very new. It is just a few things that have made it even more distinctive now. I was looking at the survey result. Some of you have never heard of Agentic AI yet. So what is different? There are 5 characteristics that I would want to highlight. Number 1 is autonomy, that these agents have a little bit of autonomy in terms of taking actions. Second is they're very contextual, and the context can be from memory that they have built, short-term memory of what I'm doing right now, and the long-term memory of who am I as an individual or my context. Third is they are adaptable, they're constantly learning. And the most important thing is that they're action-enabled, goal-enabled. That means they can take action on your behalf. And then since they've been around for quite some time, what's the difference is basically agenticness is what I would say. And this agenticness is basically dependent on the complexity of the goal. How complex of a goal are these agents trying to achieve? How cross-domain are they? Are they working with one application, running across multiple applications? How adaptable they are, and again, how independent are they? How much of a human intervention is needed? To make it real with few examples, a very low agentic system, like we all are familiar with, email where the spam folders, we filter out the spam automatically on the user behalf. That is an example of low agentic, rule-based system, the recommendation engine that a lot of music systems provide. And then if you take on the other spectrum, highly agentic system, like the self-driving cars, which are already out there. They're taking decisions on your behalf. There are autonomous trading bots that have come out already. So these are, like, these technology has existed, but it's just a spectrum of agenticness is how I take it.
Thank you, Sapna. And Sauvik, over to you. Your comments on the same question in terms of, how you have seen this operate in various industries. Because it's already been there. And you being a double PhD in AI, it'll be interesting to hear your views. You've been there in this space for many, many years.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Krish. So I think something very basic is what I would just contextualize a little bit. See, in 1965, John McCarthy is attributed to inventing AI. So it's been about over 60 years. It's been part of our lives, right? I'll come to agentic, Krish, just in a second. But let's just see how, because there's too many words we ourselves, our community is responsible for creating and confusing everyone, including ourselves. The first model which we worked out back in the day was pure play understanding 1000 percentile of our brain and deployed it on a piece of paper, mathematically deputing, is from Alan Turing days. Intelligence artificially has been created by human beings who I think are fundamentally the true AGI and the true super intelligence community, because that's the reality as of today. Now, over the course of the last 20 years, what have we seen? We've got exposed to the recommendation widgets in the consumer world, having built a few e-com companies in this country. What did you see? We see the recommendation widgets of a similar items, right? That was back in 2000, 2005, 2010. What did we see then? We saw recommender systems and recommendation engines. These are all leading to future of Gen AI and Agentic AI. Understand the narrative and the story all of us have got used to and are consumed by, right? Then YouTube comes across and you start seeing personalized feeds. Those are core neural modeling where you are kept in your own bubble, whether you are in your Facebook feeds, whether in your TikTok feeds and your Instagram algorithms. So that slowly starts understanding human behavior, click-through behavior and thumb architecture. Now when you do thumb architecture decoding for a faceless, nameless thumb, what the algo is expected to do is decode and throw a finger up in the air and expect some sort of a resultant output. That became part of our lives. Post-COVID, when the app economy took over the entire planet, what did we do? We kind of consumed the entire interaction form factors and translated, continuously decommission and put internet on our Android televisions and our operating systems. That is not far back, is what our world, from buying grocery to buying a ride-hailing community, has got baked in with consumption of AI. So AI is part of our consumption life. Now comes the great world of Gen AI, which is scavenging the internet, depute compute, and trying to make contextual answers in the world through the so-called bot plus world, right? Now the bot plus world, we gave a beautiful name, generative AI. Now generating something out of the garbage of the internet and then deputing and rendering meaningful context is something a parallel world has started. And like Sapna said, like Krish said, like Phil mentioned, the world of agentic is going to be more deterministic tasks. I stress the word deterministic from the normal consumer psychology. Deterministic tasks. There are agentic operating agents. Let's just simplify the dictionary meaning of agents. Agents are people or human beings today who are specialized subject matter experts in doing a certain task. If we deploy that in an algorithm in computers, what it allows you to do, it performs autonomously and it becomes better and better and better. You put a mix of masala of learning and self-learning in it, it becomes a little bit more intelligent. You put masala and you cook that agent with autonomous algos through the course of 1 year with great data, it understands context. It understands the entire concept of the profile of the persona and the task. So the narrative from what we were in the last 25 years of recommender systems and personalization systems and n equal to 1 personalization through contextual generative AI outputs, today will be small agents performing very high-end tasks, mastering it. Has it been there? It has been there with human intervention. Is it going to be self-sufficient? We will see. As the community, we are expected to give you a lot more accuracy. Too early to say how accurate the agentic world would be, but the adoption has to happen. So on that note, I'll just stop.
No, thanks, Sauvik. Frankly, as both Sapna and Sauvik said, it's been around for some time. It's been predicting your Netflix binges. It's been finessing you on your Uber fares. It's been drafting emails for you. And it's probably already deciding what you will have for dinner tonight when you order on Swiggy. But on that note, let me reach out to you, Deepak. Can you give examples of how you have implemented or how you've looked at Agentic AI in both your IT and business process operations, and how you actually deployed it and how you kind of made it real?
That's a great segue in terms of, I think we heard a little bit about the history and how it has actually been there. I think, first of all, in terms of the impact that something like this has created, I think it's also created a level field for a lot of organizations, big, small, all alike, to be able to make that progress. Right? I often think of it as a cycling analogy, if you will. Right? The best cycling race is probably the Tour de France that everyone is probably aware of. And what it does there, if you look at all of the participants, right, when they're actually racing on flat surfaces, they're all pretty much together. There is really not a whole lot of differentiation, that you can actually see. But when they get to the mountainous areas is kind of where you will see that impact, or where the grades, separate themselves out. Now, to your point, Krishnan, in terms of from an IT processing, world, from an IT ops world or what have you, it's one of the areas that actually has already starting to see a significant impact. We at Pega, in fact, are deeply involved in digital process automation, in CRM world and what have you, especially in the IT areas. And we've already started seeing something. I mean, I'll give you an example of what we did within internal to Pega. We created, you actually mentioned the word like an intern. We actually created an agent called Iris Intern. It's actually called an intern within this thing. It's actually an email interface. You can actually send an email to Iris Intern, and you can ask it any question within Pega, and it knows everything about Pega. It has access to our different systems, right? Whether it is an HR system, whether it is sales management system, whether it is different systems within the organization, and it actually combines. It's an agent that looks at all of these data, understands your question, and comes back with an answer, in a very, very short time. Right, and it's an email interface. You can access it from anywhere as long as you have access to our network and what have you, right? So it's a great example of what you would actually see a practical example of it. You would also see, I think Phil mentioned a great part in terms of looking at what is actually required in order to be able to build such systems. One part he talked about was that skill set as far as how engineering and business needs to come together. Right? You will see a great example on the floor if you check out in the booths. There's something called as a Pega blueprint, and you can actually check out how it allows you in terms of to interact with agents that can bring these things together. Right? There are plenty of examples, practical examples, whether you look at Uber Surge or other such examples in the in the areas. Within the IT ops industry, you can actually look at as far as monitoring is it monitoring and then actually acting on automatically acting on some issue that is recognized right before it actually goes wrong. What Agentic AI is actually given the power is to be proactive rather than reactive. So far within the IT ops world, we've always been fixing stuff after something happened. Now we have the capability to be cognizant of what is actually happening and then be proactive to be able to rectify things before something goes wrong.
Thank you, Deepak. In fact, I was just talking to Phil yesterday in terms of customer engagement processes, the whole contact center ecosystem, if you will. The Agentic AI, the biggest use I would see it in that ecosystem, whereby I see at least 1/3 of the entire ecosystem being done by Agentic AIs in the next, over the next 12 to 18 months. So that is the level of disruption that we are talking about. Agentic AIs can mimic human voice. Actually, it sounds very human-like. It can display emotions. It can negotiate. It can also act. So it's also a combination of brain AI, which is used for searching data, getting the data, fetching the data, everything. And second is the image, which is used to interact, so image AI. And third is the voice AI, which is used to, you will not even know that you're conversing with an AI. And the last is the action AI, which is a fallout of whatever the discussions have happened with the brain, with the face, and then the voice, and then the action AI. So it's here, it's real, and it's coming at a significantly rapid pace. Sauvik, any examples from your world where you've deployed this, which you want to share?
Yeah, I think the way we are observing the response with enterprise consumer base. So I'll break it down into 3 industries of what we are asked the questions on and what sort of a context they want from platforms I represent. One is the retail. Retail has posed a question: can I give the same experience of a store assistant? So you go to a brick and mortar retail store, whether it's grocery, whether it's electronics, whether it's fashion and lifestyle, a great store assistant understands your profile, understands your ability, how you speak, what language you speak, and they contextualize an interaction accordingly. So retailers want a store assistant, a very smart store assistant, operating in the model of a agentic framework. The real estate industry is saying, can we give, for the first time, home buyers ability before they come in for site visits? Can we give the agentic framework in terms of entire prospect life cycle capability and lead them to a virtual capability before they spend their precious time of walking in for a site visit? And the third one, which we are continuously trying to solve, is fundamentally in regards to wealth management, because there's so much of wealth management platforms today and so much of information into the app economy. What is the truest sense of the market in terms of how the wealth management advisor to a young millennial to a HNI is working towards? So these smaller agentic frameworks based on multiple agentic models are questions which are asked, and this is the sort of agentic framework solutioning which we are providing to these 3 set of industries. Initial observation is they are trialing it out. They want to ensure that the accuracy is there, because moving human beings into a consumer facing life cycle and completely deploying intelligence self-learning platforms is one part, but at the end of the day business has to still make money. And the Indian psychography or the Southeast Asian psychography is price conscious. We all are price conscious. So putting an agentic framework where price conscious middle class Indians are used to is defeating the purpose at some time. So you have to make them that intelligent, you have to make them that jugadu, to be honest, or else a traditional Puritan agentic framework will fall on its face. So that's the process we have started, because India has got over 9,500 dialects and over 900 languages. So agentic framework deployed in Telangana, and the agentic framework deployed for a retail store in Shiliguri, and an agentic framework deployed in Jaipur. Let me see if the West can solve that problem. We ourselves are very confident we're going to solve it for ourselves, because our embedded culture is different, because India changes every 50 kilometers. So that's the question we are trying to solve now through Rezolve and Sirrus.ai.
No, thanks, Sauvik. In fact, one of the points that Phil also addressed was the various laws prevailing, and also the various challenges that within the cultural challenges that people have in terms of adopting agentic AI. In fact, the agentic AI adoption is so low So where can it go wrong? So the next question to the panel, and I think I'll have Deepak first and Sapna, and then Sauvik, you can have the last word, is in terms of where can it go wrong? Actually, a hyperscaler long ago decided, I won't name the hyperscaler here, but they decided to build a recruitment tool. This was way back in 2014, before OpenAI had come. Right? And of course, even after all of those and even after many experiments, it was found that there was a significant bias against people of color, women, etc. Right? Even in the recruitment process. So while you use AI for recruitment, and of course today also we have tools where you do not know whether you are getting interviewed by AI or a human being. There are tools that actually are being so real, but there are biases that we have to be careful about. So where can it go wrong? The risks, the guardrails, the governance, because we are all excited about Agentic AI. We all want to go back and deploy it. Phil talked about FOBO, right? So we will be going back and seriously looking at and deploying it. But what should we be careful about? Over to you, Deepak.
That's a good, often I seriously think we don't talk about enough of, where things can go wrong. I think there is a lot of excitement about what it can do, which is right. I mean, and that's really what pushes the boundaries of innovation for that matter, right? And with systems like these, in terms of as much intelligence and as much power that is actually built into it, I think it's also important to think about, what can go wrong and where things can go wrong. I think the fundamental thing is to be, I think where things can go wrong is to completely remove the human element. I think there is a lot of value in that human judgment in the entire process. Where you remove the human element completely, especially think of, multi-agent scenarios in terms of where agents are talking to, one another. I remember an example, I think there was there was a competing agents on an algorithm in order to decide the price of a book on Amazon, for example, right? It got posted on Amazon for something like $28 million. Just because there were two algorithms competing and nothing to check, cross-check on things. So I think, what is important is to make sure that there is an element of being able to, while we build the confidence, you build the confidence through certain things, but you also have to put check and balances in place. What we do in terms of where we are implementing generative AI and agentic AI in our systems, right, is first of all, one, kind of make it an open, platform in the sense that our customers can actually use the providers of their choice. Number two, you build in those security concerns so your users don't have to worry about, what kind of data is going out, to an LLM or what, is the personal data, getting compromised or what have you. Things in terms of being able to establish trust. You need to be able to build transparency into your system, right? I talked about an intern Iris that we just built. With every answer that Iris gives you back, it actually sends you a document which is called a reasoning document. It actually tells you what it did in order to arrive at the answer that it did for you. And it tells you in terms of all the sources that it went to or why it determined what it did. And then lastly, of course, in terms of making sure that the guardrails are in place as far as what the local laws are we, looking at the right, the sources of data and then what have you. All of these are some things that you would end up having to build in. And, if not, things can definitely, go wrong in a lot of places.
Yeah. Thank you, Deepak. Sapna?
I think some of it you covered already. So agents can be at a personal level or at an enterprise level. So for example, I sent Friday feelings or Monday motivation email to my staff. I've been thinking about creating an agent who can do some of this work for me so that, the things that are repetitive every time you have to do it and you can use someone's help, why not? But the key thing is, The risks are not normal risks that are associated with agents. Reason is that agents have the agency to act on your behalf. So if I'm sending that email, I don't want the agent to take over and send over some sensitive information to my staff, or send over some information or some data or some customer information that is not relevant or appropriate. That's why what Deepak just said, having human in the loop in a lot of cases makes perfect sense. Then when we are designing, we have to have in our mind what can an agent do, but more importantly define what should an agent not do. And then that comes with sensitive data handling, which is by access controls, whatever, all the privacy governance that we put in place. Compliance, be it, there's so many compliance, GDPR compliance, HIPAA compliance, making sure that the data and access is compliant. Third is also, like we talk about hijacking, but in this case we are talking about a malicious actor taking over and running agents on your behalf, so becomes even more crucial and important to prevent that. Then the orchestration of the agent, the life cycle, when is an agent spun off, the monitoring of how they're performing, the usage, and ultimately, when is the time to kill an agent as well. So that has to be fully thought through, in my opinion.
Thank you, Sapna. And last word from Sauvik.
See, there's a couple of ways I look at where can we go wrong with Agentic AI. I think let's break it down into two parts. Where can we go wrong with the technology framework, and where can we go wrong with Agentic AI's adoption in India? So let me give you the first answer. If we continuously get the Agentic AI to be deterministic, task-driven, there's a potential that the data cleansing opportunity which the Agentic AI can do, you're not going to allow it to do. So it's Agentic AI smarter ones which allow you to cleanse the data and use it for meaningful purposes. If you intervene too much, it will break the behavior for which it was allowed to be itself. So you have to have a hands-off approach as well. In terms of India, let me put it this way, we can go wrong if we mimic US and China, because China is one language, US is one language, India is, as I said, multilingual, India has got multicultural. Agentic AI trying to change India's behavior will struggle. So in that respect, I think there's a bell ringing. In that respect, I think we should take a back seat. If agentic framework doesn't work, we should go back to the neural framework and the neural modeling and the cognitive models.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, the audience. One thing is sure, Agentic AI is here to stay. What we should ensure that it serves us, and it should not be the other way around. Thank you.
And may I invite Mr. Prashant Nandela, President HYSEA, to felicitate the speakers and panelists. Can we please have the mementos? Thank you so much for being with us here today. The mementos are being presented on behalf of HYSEA and ICICI Bank. Thank you, really appreciate the claps. Thank you.